Welcome today, guys, to my YouTube channel. As always, like, share, subscribe, and comment. And today we are going to talk about the history of the whole of Africa from pre-colonial period to date. Let me repeat: the history of Africa from pre-colonial to date. I repeat again: the history of Africa from pre-colonial period to date. Let's start. The history of Africa is a vast, multifaceted, multi-faced, as in face, multifaceted narrative spanning the dawn of humanity to modern-day sovereign states. It is categorized by a rich pre-colonial era of independent kingdoms, a traumatic period of colonial exploitation, a wave of decolonization, and a complex post-colonial search for unity and development. Here are the key points. Number 1, pre-colonial period, into brackets, ancient times to late 19th century. Let me repeat. Number 1, pre-colonial period, into brackets, ancient times to late 19th century. Explaining point number 1. Before European colonization, Africa was home to diverse, complex societies including kingdoms, empires, and decentralized communities organized around shared languages and cultures. Now let's start the sub-point of the main point, okay? Let's start talking about the sub-point of the pre-colonial. Let me start talking about the sub-point of the main point, which the main point is pre-colonial period, to brackets, ancient times to late 19th century, okay? Sub-point number 1, birthplace of humanity. Explanation: Africa is recognized as the oldest inhabited territory on Earth, where the human species originated. Sub-point number 2, ancient civilizations. Explanation: Egypt, Kush, 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 and Nubia thrived along the Nile. The kingdom of Aksum, Aksum, into brackets, modern Ethiopia or Eritrea, was an influential trading powerhouse in the first millennium CE. Subpoint number 3, West African empires. Explanation: the Sahel region saw the rise of massive wealthy empires powered by the trans-Saharan trade, to brackets, gold and salt, including Ghana, Mali, and Songhai. S-O-N-G-H-I. Let me repeat, S-O-N-G-H-A-I, Songhai. Subpoint number 4, Central and Southern civilizations. Explanation: the Congo Kingdom, K-O-N-G-O, the Congo Kingdom thrived in Central Africa, while Great Zimbabwe served as a massive stone-walled capital for an empire stretching to the Indian Ocean. Subpoint number 5, trade networks. Explanation: pre-colonial Africa was well connected with vibrant trade routes connecting the Sahara to the Mediterranean and the Swahili coast to Arabia and Asia. Subpoint number 6, the slave trade. Explanation: beginning in the 15th century, the Atlantic slave trade along the Trans-Saharan and Indian Ocean slave trades significantly impacted Africa's demographics and social structures. disrupting indigenous development. You have finished point number 1. Now let's go to point number 2. The colonial period, into brackets, C 1884 to 1950s. Let me repeat. The colonial period from 1884 to 1950s. The colonial period, into brackets, from 1884 to 1950s. Let's start explaining point number 2. The scramble for Africa, into brackets, confirmed at the 1884 to 1885 Berlin Conference, so European. Let me repeat, explaining point number 2. The scramble for Africa, into brackets, confirmed at the 1884 to 1885 Berlin Conference, so European powers Britain, France, Germany, Portugal, Belgium, Italy, and Spain partitioned the continent to exploit natural resources and establish trade routes. Explaining point number 2. Let's start with the sub-point number 1. Impact. Explanation. Colonialism created arbitrary borders that often split ethnic groups or forced rival groups together, leading to ongoing conflicts. Sub-point number 2. Economy. Colonial economies were disarticulated, focusing entirely on raw materials extraction and export rather than local development. Sub-point number 3. Resistance. Explanation. Resistance occurred from the beginning, but most was militarily suppressed, to brackets, e.g. Herero and Namakua genocide in Germany, Southwest Africa, suppression of the Asante. Sub-point number 4. Exceptions. Or let me repeat sub-point number 3. Resistance. Explanation. Resistance occurred from the beginning, but most was military suppressed, into brackets, e.g. Herero and Namakua genocide in Germany. In German, not in Germany. Not in Germany. In German Southwest Africa, suppression of the Asante. Sub-point number 4. Exceptions. Explanation. Only Liberia and Ethiopia remained independent, though Italy occupied Ethiopia briefly, into brackets, 1936 to 1941. Let's go to main point number 3. Decolonization and independence, into brackets, 1950s to 1994. Explanation of point number 3. Post-World War II, weakened European powers combined with growing African nationalism led to rapid decolonization. Explaining point number 3. Sub-point number 1. The Year of Africa, 1960. Explanation. 17 nations achieved independence in 1960 alone, including Nigeria and much of French West Africa. Sub-point number 2. Path to independence. Sub-point number 2. Path to independence. Explanation. Varied from negotiated independence, e.g. Let me repeat. Sub-point number 2. Path to independence. Varied from negotiated independence, into brackets, e.g. Ghana, 1957, to bloody conflicts, into brackets, e.g. Algeria, 1954 to 1962, and Angola, 1961 to 1975. Sub-point number 3. Pan-Africanism. Leaders like Kwame Nkrumah, to brackets, Ghana, championed unity to fight neo-colonialism. Sub-point number 4. Finality. Explanation. The OAU Sub-point number 4. Finality. Explanation. The OAU into brackets Organization of African Unity was formed in 1963. The fall of apartheid in South Africa into brackets 1994 marked the symbolic end of former colonial type rule. Going on to main point number 4, post-colonial Africa, 1960s to date. Let's start explaining point number 4. Independent Africa has faced significant challenges, including political instability, economic dependency, and ethnic conflict, alongside efforts at development and revitalization. Subpoint number 1 for point number 4. Subpoint number 1, political challenges. Explanation. The early post-colonial era was characterized by coups, party states, and military dictatorships. Subpoint number 2, economic development. Explanation. Many nations struggled with high debt and dependence on commodity exports. However, modern initiatives focus on economic diversification, infrastructural development, and regional integration. Subpoint number 3, African Union into brackets AU. Explanation. In 2002, the OAU was replaced by the African Union, adopting a more active role in promoting democracy, human rights, and intervening in crisis. Subpoint number 4, contemporary scene to brackets 2026. Explanation. Africa is navigating a landscape defined by rapid urbanization, technological adoption, a burgeoning burgeoning youth population, and the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area to brackets AFCFTA aimed at boosting inter-African trade. However, this is a very important point to note. The modern African continent is a mix of vibrant democratic progress, ongoing regional conflicts, and a rapid economic, digital, and cultural transformation, striving to overcome the structural legacies of the colonial past. Thank you, guys.